Majors Garage 250, presented by Veterans of Foreign Wars. Coming to you from virtual Daytona, I am Tyler Newitt. Joining me in the commentary booth tonight is the excellent Avery McDonald. And on the cameras and everything else that needs doing is everybody's favorite Italian producer, Marco Barbanera. Avery, I am ready to see some truck racing because I'm always ready to see some truck racing. How about you?
Oh, truck racing is great no matter what track you go to, but you bring it to the high banks of Daytona International Speedway, it can't get any better than this. This is the one track that I think everybody's got on their bucket list they want to win, and we have about 20, 21-ish drivers that are going to try to check that off the list tonight.
Yeah, I have spent many a February evening in the grandstands at Daytona International Speedway during speed weeks, and the feeling never really goes away. It's a special place for some special racing. And I have to say, though, here tonight in the comfort of my own apartment out in Idaho, it's a lot warmer than it can be often in late February in Florida. And people always look at me silly when I say that. They're like, Florida, cold? But I tell you what, a 40-degree day, or a 40-degree night, rather, in Florida is pretty dang cold compared to a lot of the other places I've been. We're just getting the last few minutes of practice on the screen for you right now. A few trucks on track. Everybody seems to be by themselves for the most part. We did see some pack running earlier in practice. That's where a lot of the quick times that you see on the ticker on your screen were set. We've got, as you can see, about 7 more minutes of practice when we'll switch over to qualifying. It is good old single car, or single truck rather, qualifying. And then we head into a 100-lap race, which I believe emulates the Real Truck Series. That is racing in Daytona this weekend. There's Josh Gordon in the 8 truck. One of just 3 cars on track at the moment. He is currently sitting just outside the top 5 in 7th. His best time, a 48.6. And that'll be almost certainly in a draft. So the times he's doing right now, to get a sense of what qualifying is going to be, he's just done a 52.27. That is where I'd expect the qualifying laps to be, Avery. I think it is open setup, so we might see a bit of a spread in qualifying, but the fact of the matter is, when it comes to a super speedway in iRacing where everyone's got the same equipment, you can fiddle with the setup all you want, and it might help you some, and it might not help you, but at the end of the day, we're going to see some pack racing and everybody right there together.
Yeah, qualifying is important. You want to start in a good spot, but, once you kind of get in the draft, it's anybody's game. I do have to say, to your point of about 40 and cold, it was about 40, 45 and cold a couple weeks ago when I was down at Daytona for Rolex. So yes, it is cold down there at that temperature. But these drivers right now, with about 6 minutes to go in practice, you're just kind of getting used to being in the tow. Just actually, honestly, when it comes to practice in a race like this, it's just nice to get out and drive with about 5 minutes to go until qualifying, to kind of get your qualifying runs in, just to make sure you got something right. If you need to make any last-second adjustment, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of guys working together, and there are a couple out on track right now. That is Bill Dolph and I believe Patrick Rush in the 41 car. So just getting a little bit of drafting practice in. There's not too much you can learn. 2 cars just running around is probably more getting a sense of the pace in your truck. We did see some drivers running in larger packs earlier on in practice, and starting to get dicey. It's going to be for sure an interesting race here today. While we've got some time here as practice is wrapping up for these drivers, did want to bring you a couple of messages from our series sponsors. First off, the Veteran of Foreign Wars is a nonprofit veteran service organization comprised of eligible veterans and military service members from the active guard and reserve forces. Across America, the initials VFW are a familiar sight and symbolize a commitment to the nation both at home and abroad. Core values of VFW include promoting patriotism, honoring military service, and ensuring the care of veterans and their families. To learn more about the VFW, visit vfw.org. In addition, as you can see from the title, sponsor of the race, Majors Garage 250. The Majors Garage Setup Shop offers individual setup subscriptions, telemetry, and coaching to iRacing members. Our setup shop has been highly approved by our customers with over 200 drivers, giving an average of a 5-star rating. You can visit our website at majorsgarage.com, and it's spelled just like you see it at the top of the screen. Have to imagine that we've got a number of trucks out there using Majors Garage Setup Shop setups today, Avery. And of course, we're thankful to the sponsors for helping bring this series to you.
Oh, absolutely. Big thanks to those who have helped out to put this race here on Apex Racing TV. But yeah, Major's Garage. I know a couple people that use their setups, and they're really good. You can give me the fastest car in the world, but I won't be able to run that fastest time. So if you're really good at iRacing and need a good setup, definitely check them out. For the couple drivers that I know that have them, they always end up finishing well. So it's a great place to look for a good setup. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Still here in practice, we see the 88 truck of Sean Garreau working with the 8 truck who we saw running by himself earlier. That's Josh Gordon, as we mentioned. Josh, so far, the only Toyota who's set a time. I do see another one on the engine with Jordan Watson. Pretty interesting the way this series is formatted. They have it set up much like you know the NASCAR Cup Series to be in real life. So the series organizers have made a number of charters available in the series to drivers or teams who want to participate. So each of the drivers in the series has to apply for a charter and be approved by the series. I think it's a great idea because it kind of keeps the entry stable throughout the season that we're going to see here for the MSRA. So pretty interesting structure, and I think it's a sign of a well-run league, Avery, when you have sort of rules that kind of take what works in real life and apply it to the world of sim racing.
Oh, absolutely. I think the one thing I do like about how they have that charter system is it shows that the people that run this series cares. I mean, they put in the effort of organizing stuff that a lot of extra things that don't really seem like appropriate for some leagues, but for this league, it's very well appropriate for them. They really take the time to really plan out what they want and how this league's gonna go. I've been kind of keeping an eye on these guys for a little while now, and really well put together league. I'm just real fortunate to be on the call for tonight's Majors Garage 250. So I'm just excited. We got about a minute and a half to go in qualifying. Not qualifying, excuse me, practice. The one thing I wanted to mention is when I'm getting towards the end of this, really testing getting into pit road, because green flag pit stops can happen here at Daytona International Speedway, and you've got to be on your game because you can lose a lot of time on pit road if you break too early.
Absolutely right, Avery, and it's important to highlight here as well. We are going to see stage racing tonight. For those of you familiar with NASCAR racing in its current form, these races will be split up both tonight and tomorrow, I should say. We are also bringing you the Colton Creel 300 for MSRA uh, uh, in their national series. Excuse me. That'll be tomorrow night at the same time on the same channel here on Apex Racing TV. But we're going to see stage racing. So all these races will be split up. The organizers will throw the yellow flag. The stages for tonight are going to be 20 laps for the first 2 stages and 60 laps for the second. So you would certainly expect to potentially see some green flag pit stops in the second or the third stage rather, unless we get some yellows, which there is, of course, always the potential for, but strategy will certainly be a factor in that final stage. I'd imagine everyone can make it the whole way of the first 2 stages on fuel, but definitely going to be some interesting strategy plays in that final stage, as we have just seen the checkered flag for the end of practice. Finish their laps, presumably, or it might just... Yep, there they go. Kick them off the track. And we will head to single car qualifying. So, of course, the beauty of iRacing is everyone can do their single car qualifying runs at the same time. So you won't see any numbers on the board for a little while, but we will see some drivers out on track there is one now, Rick Webb, just heading out onto the apron in turn one for his qualifying attempt. Have to see where he slots in. It'll be interesting the qualifying strategies of these trucks. You know, I've been doing iRacing for quite a while and NASCAR Racing 2003 before that. And the the strategy is always to run the top. And I got to be honest, Avery, I don't actually know if it works. It works in the real world, and that's the way they do it in the real world. And we see Rick Webb doing it right now, trying to build up that momentum in the high lane. I like to do my first flying lap around the top completely and then stick it to the yellow line for my second flying lap. Some people don't bother with that. They just want to set their lap and they hold the yellow line all the way around. As we see Rick getting on the apron there and getting a little squirrely on his first qualifying lap, but looks like he is going to stick to the high side here and try and build up that momentum.
Yeah, I like to stick to the high side, and then when I'm coming to the checkered flag, I like to get down on that apron, just to try to cut the track as short as you can and try to get as much speed. Qualifying, unfortunately for me, I usually qualify towards the back of the pack in well almost any track, but times I just don't have it quite figured out here at the super speedway. So see Rick Webb just kind of running up against the wall. It's gonna start going down to the bottom of the track as he comes out on turn number 4 at this amazing racetrack. You see him start to dip to the bottom here as he goes through the tri-oval.
Yeah, he's literally going downhill as he exits the turn 4 banking. That for those of you who have had the good fortune to have been to the real life Daytona International Speedway, before the race, sometimes you'll get the chance to walk up the banking in the tri-oval, and it is unbelievably steep just in the tri-oval. So you can kind of extrapolate that towards the banking and get a sense of how steep those corners are, and they literally are mounds of dirt. So as they exit turn 4 on the high line, they're going down vertically. And that's what helps build that speed. That's why these drivers stick to that high line for the first lap. And of course, iRacing being a racing simulator, it simulates that, you know, that
Oh,
that
yeah.
drop in height is real, and it'll affect these cars as we see time starting to roll in. So these are kind of the slower first laps that we'd expect. So Rick Webb currently at the top. Kevin Raw in second, and Richard Clemens Sr. in third. There is Richard. He is cruising now on his second lap.
Yeah, I could attest to that. You know, I was driving to the airport. Well, not driving. I was in my Uber to the airport, leaving Daytona, and you can just see the mounds of dirt along the side of the track. It's just where the track was, where the banking is. It's absolutely phenomenally. It's huge. But take a look at Ernie Ludwig here. He's was in the top 5 in practice, and he's gonna put down a. Looks like that was his opening lap there.
Yep. Yeah, he's towards the bottom of the board. In fact, he's the slowest car to have set a time so far of the 19 that have. Austin Derbyshire has just gone to the top with his fast lap. There is Matt Knight doing some weaving. I think his qualifying effort is done. Chris Jenkins also appears to be off the pace, so he is at the end of his effort. Here is Ernie riding that yellow line, so you know he's on a quick lap right now. Have to see where he slots in. Currently, his best time of 52.6 compared to the provisional pole sitter who's sitting on a 51.5. So about a second to find for Ernie. And we'll see where he goes as he crosses the line here. Dips just below the apron there. And jumps to 14th. 14th for Ernie. That is of 19 cars who have set a qualifying time so far. Ernie's time was a 51.92. So the top, well, down to Ernie, they are all separated by 0.4 of a second. That is just Daytona for you. Qualifying at Daytona is it's an art, but it's a somewhat simple art. You just keep your foot to the floor and you try and move the wheel as little as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that about sorts it. But we are done with qualifying. It was only a 5-minute session. So a number of cars who didn't set times of the 25 we have in the session here. But we have your starting lineup on the screen there for you. Austin Derbyshire is going to be your pole sitter here today, ahead of Rick Webb. Kevin Roy out of Canada will line up in third, ahead of Richard Clements Sr. Matt Knight, teammate to Richard for the Flying Dragons, will start in fifth alongside Chris Jenkins. John Gifford starts in seventh next to Alan Dobbs. Chris Noble will start in ninth alongside Matthew Dyer. Chuck Waldrop starts in 11th next to Patrick Rush in 12th. Greg Newsom will line up in 13th alongside Ernie Ludwig, who we saw setting his time there. James Dowan will start in 15th next to Josh Mayu. Aaron Tyner will start 17th. He lines up next to Sean Garreau. Jordan Watson, the last of the cars who set a time in qualifying, will start in 19th. Josh Gordon, who we saw doing quite a bit of practice there, didn't set a qualifying time. He will start in 20th. Dylan Canova starts 21st alongside John Binder. Bill Dolph will start 23rd. Another car we saw doing a number of practice laps. So interesting, both Bill and Josh didn't set qualifying times, perhaps just wanting to be in the back away from the chaos at the start. Dustin Smith will start in 24th, and we believe, yes, Hilton Young will start in 25th. So another feature of this league, start penalties are given to drivers who didn't do enough practice laps. And actually, one of those I've just seen come through on the race control messages is our pole sitter, Austin Derbyshire. So mostly it's the cars who didn't set a qualifying time. Jordan Watson, the only other one who did, lines up 19th and last of the cars who qualified. So the four drivers who didn't set enough practice laps and will be moved to the back of the field are Austin Derbyshire, your provisional pole sitter, Dylan Canova, Hilton Young, and Jordan Watson.
Yeah, you definitely got to get in those practice laps so you can start at the position you are set. So unfortunately for him, he'll be going to the back of the field. Work his way up. But I'm sure he's got a fast race truck. That Ford. I mean, anytime you see a Ford, you know it's fast. So we'll see. Our producer Marco agrees.
For sure. Yeah, I imagine we'll see Austin up front before too long, but that's tough. You know, it's a good rule, though. I have to say I'm a fan of that. Having a minimum practice lap requirement just kind of ensures that you don't get anyone sort of those arrive and drive, as they say, drivers who have not put in the time and effort potentially and could ruin someone's race because they're, you know, unfamiliar with the track. Obviously, it's a little bit different at Daytona, and I have to imagine that most of these guys have put in practice time outside of the race server, but the rules are rules, and we see Austin, Dylan, and Jordan heading to the back. Unfortunately, Hilton Young had a disconnect, a received throughput error, so he is not going to make the grid. He is not on track at the moment, so he will have to start from pit lane if he does start. But the pace car leads them out of turn 4. Rick Webb, or rather Kevin, has assumed the race lead on the inside line. I don't actually know who has control of the field in this situation. With the pole sitter being penalized, it certainly seems as though Rick has that as he leads the field to green. Gets a little bit of a jump, not going to be enough to clear Kevin on the inside line, and you don't want to get too far out ahead or you'll get steamrolled for sure. Staying double file for the most part, although we see a quick move to the middle lane for the 22 truck. That is Alan Dobbs. He wants to move forward quickly, and he dispatches that green and white truck rapidly.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody coming in that was watching the real Daytona Duel, because they're under rain delay, but we're racing here. And look at that, Rick Webb is just getting a good start. He's got, at least with him right now, he's got Clement behind him, and the train on the outside hasn't quite hooked up yet. So these drivers, you know, it's got 100 laps, man. They're got time to kind of figure out how good their truck is, where they're good at. If they're good at pushing or getting pushed. So
yeah, they've got plenty of time, but don't tell Alan Dobbs that, because he has just made a charge from the start. He is side by side with Rick for the lead in that 22 truck. You saw him splitting the middle right as the race started, and he is making it move on that high line. Most everybody is sorted out to double file as it stands at the moment. Pretty far on back, but Alan Dobbs, your big mover of the race, and there he goes, clearing Rick Webb, pulling down in front for that race lead. So while everyone is just kind of trying to figure out what they have at the moment, Alan Dobbs maybe knows what he's got, and he's got a fast race truck.
Yeah, already up 7 spots is Dobbs, and he's leading that bottom lane, and he got Jenkins on the outside leading the outside, and he's got a little bit of help from the number 2 of Matthew Dyer. So it's always good when you're trying to make a move on the outside and you got somebody behind you, because nobody likes it when you try to make a move and nobody wants to follow. So 2 by 2 for about 4 trucks back.
There is Hilton Young, who unfortunately missed the start. He's showing 2 laps down, I believe, potentially. Or my timing just updated to show him on the lead lap, as there is Chris Jenkins saying, "I will take that inside line, thank you, Alan." It definitely seems to be possible to make a move with just 1 car of help, essentially, on that outside line. You're going to need to have a good pusher, it seems, but now we've seen both Alan Dobbs and Chris Jenkins make their way to the lead of the race with the assistance of just 1 truck on that outside lane. Obviously, there are more trucks in there now, but really, it was the 1 truck bump traffic that made it happen. And it could very well be that these trucks on the inside line, they know it's a long race. They're on lap 4 of 100, so maybe just giving it a little bit of a breath and letting the trucks in line. But as it stands currently, Chris Jenkins, your race leader, single file on back to about 4th place. Hard to tell if Richard Clement is clear there of the outside lane, which is being led by the 2 truck of Matthew Dyer, and I believe he is now. So 4 trucks clear, and we've got 7 trucks stacked up in that outside lane, led by the aforementioned Matthew Dyer in a Ford. Currently 2 Chevys out front, followed by 3 Fords. As we mentioned, only a couple of Toyotas in the field. Jordan Watson currently sitting in 13th. After he was one of the cars given pit lane, or rather, tail end of the longest line penalty for not doing enough practice laps. And Josh Gordon, who we saw not qualify, he is currently situated in 20th. So things all starting to shake out here. Lap 5, people figuring out what they've got, just kind of riding around probably till the stage break, which we'll see at lap 20. Interesting to see some of the cars who didn't qualify just sort of riding in the back, and you wonder, if they're really showing all they have. I was reading an article, and I don't remember which driver it was, but one of the current NASCAR drivers, I want to say it was, there's a driver forced below the yellow line. I believe that's Patrick Rush in the 41 car. Now, there is a yellow line penalty in this series, not unlike what you see in NASCAR. The rule, as it's stated in the MSRA rulebook, is that you cannot start or complete a pass below the yellow line. So you are allowed below the yellow line in avoidance, as it appeared the 41 car was there, or if you make a mistake or to avoid a wreck. Any of those situations, obviously, you can go below the yellow line, but you're not allowed to go down there to make a pass. And we had the series organizer in as well. He told us, even if it's for the win, you're not allowed below that yellow line, as we've seen that outside line work once again for Matthew Dyer. He's moved his way to the front now, up 9 spots from where he started. But it looks like he's going to be quickly overtaken by Chris Noble. So that outside line looking strong here. Interesting. We don't see what we sometimes see in the real world with everyone single file up top, because it certainly seems to be the quickest way around at the moment. Just to finish the thought I had earlier, though, there was a driver saying, and I believe it was Denny Hamlin, but I'm not going to assert that for sure, that the teams, they have all these data and all the statistics of, how the race unfolds. And he was saying where it used to be beneficial to ride in the back, nowadays there's no advantage. You're not safer, and you lose any chance you might have of potentially winning the race if it stays clean up front. So they were saying their strategy is kind of just to be wherever they end up during the race. And I wonder how that's going to play out for our drivers who are hanging at the back, Avery. I think they're being led by Austin Derbyshire, that group that's just straggling behind just a little bit. Certainly, they can anticipate a couple of stage cautions coming up to bring them back in it, but I would think the front might be where you want to be.
Yeah, if you're leading the pack, there's a good chance of you not getting wrecked. But the one thing I usually try to stay towards the back, not because lack of talent, just because if there's a wreck, I usually have a better chance to avoid it. But the one thing I wanted to say is, when you're on that outside line and you're able to make the pass for first, and you kind of clear them right away, and say you clear them right away, that might lose a friend that helped push you to the lead. Sometimes you want to wait till the car behind you push and is able to clear them, so you can stick together. We've seen that a couple times with a couple of the drivers that made that move. So we'll see. We're only 9 laps into this. See if anyone's going to make some more friends by doing that, or make enemies by just pulling down and taking the lead and hanging your guy out to dry.
Absolutely, and of course the advantage of league racing too is a lot of these drivers have prior relationships or even teammates. There are certainly some teams out there with multiple cars in the field, and at plate racing it's such a huge advantage. If you're in an iRacing official race at a plate track, there's a pretty solid chance that you don't know any of the drivers you're racing with, which can make it pretty tough, to be honest, for those drivers to kind of find somebody to work with who's not going to abandon you as soon as you get to the front. As we see, that is the lap truck, I believe, of Hilton Young, who started from the pit lane, just going a lap down now here. I believe they do have the lucky dog rule in this series, so as long as he can tag along to the back of this pack and keep up, he should be able to get that wave around once we get the stage yellow. So interesting there. Chris Noble was able to very briefly get out in front, but I don't think he cleared Matthew Dyer at any point. And now we've seen that inside line escape towards the front. Some 2 cars clear. Alan Dobbs trying to get clear of that outside line, not clear at the moment. There you see the back of Chris Jenkins, the 75 car.
Yeah, Jenkins putting on a really good run, up 4 spots. But yeah, Matthew Dyer, your leader. Oh, Jenkins going to try to make a move on the outside. He's got a help from the 53 at Noble. Jenkins making that move. That was a real aggressive move, but if you want to get to the front, you got to be aggressive. Marshall, the herd car, is coming.
It was a good move. For sure, it was a good move. But that's the kind of move I have to say I wouldn't be making this early in a race, especially as you were saying, Avery, this is the time of the race you want to be making friends, not enemies. And getting that close to the front bumper of the truck, who might be pushing you to the lead, is not something that I would want to be doing early on. Just looking based on the hoods and the liveries, I think we do have 2 teammates lined up in that outside lane, Chris Noble and Greg Newsom. I don't know what FSM stands for. I'm pretty sure I read them as teammates earlier on the grid, but they found each other and they're trying to work together to get towards the front. But you do wonder if potentially working together could cost them here, because we saw at one point Chris Noble in that 53 truck was clear, but he didn't move down to that inside line, presumably because his teammate Greg Newsom in the 23 was not clear. So it's kind of a product of the iRacing drafting model, isn't it? It's definitely doable to get 1 car clear. It's really, really tough to get 2 cars, 2 trucks clear, as the case may be. You're kind of dependent on that inside line falling apart, and at the moment they're pretty solidly strong with the number of trucks lined up there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got to give a big shout out to Chris Jenkins. I know a couple friends that are alumni of Marshall University, and they also run a Marshall University truck. So I literally just sent them a link and said, hey, you got another Marshall University truck out there, and they're watching now. So it's good to have you guys in here. But yeah, you want to make friends right now. But a lot of times, if it's your teammate on the outside pushing you, and they're like, hey, just go, because I'll catch up to you in a little bit. So it just kind of depends if you're working with. But yes, you got to make friends now, because once it comes about 5 laps to go, they're not going to be your friends anymore.
Oh, a little side. I say a little. a huge sideways moment there from Chris Noble. That's when you want to have your teammate behind you, because Greg Newsom was able to back off and let him back in. I think somebody else might have gone, hung him out to dry on the high line, but that set this top lane back just a little bit. They were challenging for the race lead. A little bit before, I saw the 2 truck, Matthew Dyer, on the inside line getting below the yellow line as if he got somewhat of a squirrely push tucked in behind race leader Chris Jenkins. So these trucks, you know, it's easy to look at Daytona super speedway racing and say, you know, it's just foot to the floor and they're stuck to the ground, but the handling is not a negligible factor in these trucks. You know, certainly less so than the Cup cars for sure, but you want a truck that handles well, and especially in open setup series like this one, you know, you could be running a setup that is super duper quick in the draft, but just eats the tires and could really affect your long run pace. So obviously we don't know what sort of setups these drivers are running, but we, you know, might start to see those comers and goers, as the saying is, drivers who are just starting to struggle with the handling of their trucks falling towards the back. But at the moment, things have kind of stabilized. It seems that that top line can't really make much of a charge at the moment, and the inside line's been holding strong pretty much the whole race, led by now Chris Jenkins in the second half.
Yeah, speaking of tires, they have a 4-tire set limit, but really here, that's not really going to be an issue, because you're going to pit on the stage 1 brake, you're going to pit at the stage 2 brake, and you're going to have to put a pit stop in between. So not going to really have to worry about tires at the moment. So not having enough sets of tires, because iRacing just brought that in not that long ago, which is a great thing. I mean, they're always updating stuff, but so they don't have to worry about tires. But what they do have to worry about is that outside line is coming. Chris Jenkins is just not gonna. Is it gonna get him at the line? So yes, he will. That's also good practice when you're coming to the line. Have an idea what you need to do. But like most drivers here on iRacing, they've been on the super speedways. They know what to do coming to the finish. So
absolutely, and I have to imagine the side drafting will be a lot more aggressive on the final lap. I think you kind of ease off, especially in a league race like this, early on in the race. You know, iRacing netcode is really fantastic, but it's not perfect, and you know, everyone's seen the netcode issues that people can have, and early on in this race, you don't want to be side drafting someone too aggressively and have a netcode issue that, you know, causes the big one on lap 17. So while it certainly is good practice, no doubt, for how things are going to shake out for the final lap, you can bet that these drivers are going to be a lot tougher on that side drafting and close racing as they come to the line. We've seen Matthew Dyer wants to lead this race once again. He has done exactly what Chris Jenkins did before him, jumped in front of those 2 FSM trucks onto the outside line, and he's going to see if he can clear that 75 truck and lead this lap. They're on the backstretch now. Oh, that's a good push to the 75 from Alan Dobbs in the 22, but he got a little squirrely there, and that's going to bring the top line right into it as they head into turn number 3.
yeah, again, a little bit squirrely here. 18 laps down, just a couple more laps to go in this stage. So if you want to make a move, pretty much now's almost time to do it. So we're getting close to the end of that stage.
Of course, the stage rules are the stage caution flies once the 10th place car has crossed the line. That's not too much of a worry at the super speedways, because 10th place is going to cross the line probably less than a second after first place crosses the line. Race control can pretty comfortably throw the yellow flag as soon as the field gets there. But they are still side by side for the race lead. Nobody really able to get an advantage. It seems like Chris Noble in that 53 truck not willing to give a huge shove to Matthew Dyer in the 2 to kind of clear that inside line. We saw him do it with Chris Jenkins in the 75, but perhaps the temperature's just getting a little hot, and with the knowledge of the stage caution coming up, you don't want to overexert your truck early on here and risk blowing an engine early in this race.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we can interview Chris, because I just got a message from one of my Marshall University friends. He thinks he's a snare drummer back in the day, so I want to ask him that just in case. But yeah, side by side for this last lap of stage number 1, Lars Jenkins.
Fantastic. Yeah, hopefully we can get Chris in here Certainly he's doing well so far in leading laps, but he's got a challenge to the outside as we head towards the conclusion of this stage. But that top line, those two FSM trucks just can't seem to hold it super tight to the back of the 2 truck, and it looks at the moment as if we're going to see Chris Jenkins cross the line ahead. In fact, Matthew Dyer has slipped back behind Alan Dobbs at the moment. There is the stage yellow, I believe. We'll see how everything shakes out once everybody is sorted single file behind the pace car, but I believe the 2 truck had slipped back to 3rd by the time the yellow flag flew.
Yep, timing and scoring is super quick here on Apex Racing TV. It's probably the most accurate timing software you're gonna find. So pretty much, yeah, you got Jenkins, Dyer, Dobbs, Noble, but we'll have to wait till they kind of get in a pace line, because sometimes you could pass somebody and you'll get that notification, let the car by. So see, once they all get to the pace truck or pace car.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, as you mentioned, Avery, only 4 sets of tires for these drivers. Will be interesting to see who all takes tires on this stop. Certainly, they're not really in danger of hitting that limit, but track position is going to be important. Certainly, we saw some movement early on, but it really sort of stabilized towards the end of that stage. I'd kind of believe that you want to be up front if that means taking 2 tires while other drivers take 4, if that means taking no tires while other drivers take 2. I think we certainly might see some strategy come into play here under this stage yellow.
Well, and the other thing is you don't need a full tank of fuel to make it through the end of segment number 2. So we'll see what these drivers are going to do. Because if you're not going to take, full tank of fuel or whatever you need to get to the finish, you might as well just take either right side or left side tires to get better track position, because you really need good track.
Yeah, absolutely. Just seen in the chat, and thanks to everybody following along in the chat from the Slender Giraffe, the 2 truck of Matthew Dyer is apparently having steering wheel issues that he might have to spend some time fixing under yellow. So if we see a long stop from that 2 truck, we will know why, and thank you to the Slender Giraffe in the chat for that info. That's tough around here. He's done a good job of hanging on to it if he's been having those issues for a while, has Matthew Dyer, currently running in 3rd, but definitely not a track you want to have issues with. Looks like everybody's going to come on down pit road. Chris Jenkins was faking staying out just a bit, but nobody took the bait, and everybody is making their way down pit road. There is Hilton Young, the only car 1 lap down. He should get that lap back here and hopefully find himself on the lead lap for the next part of this race.
Yep, getting in pit stall, you need to get a good pit entrance. Really, the unfortunate thing is you can't like upgrade your pit crew like you could back on like the NR 2003 days. Ooh, that was a close.
It was an interesting pit exit from Rick Webb there, but I think he came out first. And he was fairly far back in the pack. I'm going to check the pit time. I don't know if that was a tires deal for Rick. It certainly was a quicker pit stop than a lot of the drivers. So 12 seconds in the box for Rick Webb, as opposed to 15 and 14 for Alan Dobbs and Chris Jenkins, respectively. Another driver who moved forward in the stop was Richard Clements Sr., moving up to 4th. That's where he started the race, actually. His pit stop was 11.6 seconds. So definitely some strategy going on here. Not sure if that's tire strategy or just drivers maybe taking less fuel than some others. Will be interesting to see how it all shakes out. There is Jordan Watson in the 52 truck. We're going to see something here, I assume. He came out in 8th place, so he gained quite a few spots there. Oh, did he miss his pit stall? I'm not showing a pit time for Jordan, so I think that's what we're about to see, is the 52 truck missing his pit stall. Yep. He did not. Oh, he made contact as well with the 42 truck. Oh, that's
the 99.
Yeah, so a couple of cars involved there. That's tough. So, should mention, as I think most people are aware, iRacing does some ghosting on the pit lane adjacent to the pit boxes, but The series has a rule that it will penalize drivers who drive down the left side of the pit lane. You have to stay in that right-hand lane, which means the cars aren't ghosted for most of the way down pit lane, and it's why we saw the trouble there for those two trucks. It's a shame for Jordan Watson. He has come back down pit lane now under the second lap of yellow to complete his service and presumably get a little bit of damage repair because the truck looked a little bit worse for wear after that contact on pit lane. So shame for Jordan Watson, but he continues on in 23rd place. James Doan also came back down pit lane, and of course Hilton Young got the lucky dog, so he will restart at the end of the line.
Yep, pace car lights are off, so we're getting ready to go back green flag race.
We are indeed on lap 25 of 100. Stage 2 finish will be lap 40, so these drivers, assuming they can keep it clean, which they certainly have so far today, will get 16 green flag laps in stage number 2, which will lead into the considerably longer stage 3 for these drivers, when I think things are going to really start to get interesting. Of course, not that they haven't been so far. It's been quite busy up towards the front as they are led to the field by the 3 truck of Rick Webb with Alan Dobbs to the outside. We've seen Alan up front all day. His early move on the original start of the race got him a lead early on in this race, and it looks like he has got some help from Chris Noble in the 53 truck, and those two nearly both clear Rick Webb. Chris tried to slot in, but he got just barely boxed out, and there was almost some chaos there as he got a little loose with contact from Rick Webb. But he now leads that outside lane with a push from John Gifford in the 82 truck. Haven't seen all that much of John, even though he's been there in that outside lane for most of the race, I think, just kind of 4th or so in line, so we didn't really see all that much of him. He is sandwiched by the 2 FSM trucks at the moment of Chris Noble and Greg Newsom as, ooh, everybody fans out as they exit turn 4. Tires have cooled down. Maybe they took some new tires, so just getting a little bit loose out of that final corner onto the tri-oval, but everybody kept it in check, and we're still 2x2 all the way back as they head into turn number 1. Once again, Alan Dobbs just has the nose on Chris Noble. Chris doing a little bit more side drafting than we saw in the first stage, I have to say, getting rather close to that low line, perhaps trying to get the pole to get out front. But at the moment, it is still Alan Dobbs in that 22 truck who leads the field around into turn number 3.
Yeah, Dobbs putting on a really good run. You know, honestly, if I was Chris, I'd be okay getting stuck in the outside, because the only way you're going to get the pass on a lead is to be on the outside, because if you're sitting right behind Dobbs, you ain't going to be getting around him. That's where Rick Webb is, but he's all right with being in the inside line because it's lap 27 now of 100. So, you know, it's still early. It's still early to, I mean, really, sometimes you want to make some moves, but other times you just kind of want to chill. Speaking of chilling,
you want to be leading. You want to be leading a line, unless you're Chris Jenkins, who wants to be at the back of this pack, apparently. Certainly not where we would expect Chris to be, but he did have a somewhat longer pit stop, about 19 seconds, compared to some of these other trucks out there. So, oh, thank you very much, Marco. Marco pointing out that he stopped again under that yellow. So maybe some contact in the pit lane caused damage, or perhaps just topping it off with fuel. Based on the stop time, I'd have to imagine that's what it was. So perhaps a strategy play from Chris Jenkins to put himself towards the front of the field at the stage. But he currently sits in 24th ahead of only Chuck Waldrop, who also came down pit lane twice under that yellow, as did Austin Derbyshire. And the 24 truck of Hilton Young, who was the dog. He's moving his way forward. He's up to 20th place, which is good news for Hilton. After not making the start of the race, he's back in it.
Oh yeah, he's back in. The one thing that wouldn't surprise me is a couple laps to go to the end of the stage break. Somebody comes down a pit road that's kind of towards the back of the pack, because they're cutting it close though. They'll be cutting it close, but they should be able to get out in time before the lead cars come around. But you got to have friends to do that. So we might see a couple drivers make their way down pit road in about 10 laps, because at 40 laps is the end of this stage number 2. Just gonna have to wait and see what some drivers are gonna do.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I don't know roughly what the fuel window of these trucks are. I haven't done any of the official races lately around Daytona, but it could very well be people who want to split that final stage up in two, make their pit stop before we get to the stage yellow. You have to do it fairly close to the break, though, because you don't want to risk losing the draft and going a lap down, because that completely resets the strategy and you find yourself in the tail of the field, assuming you do get a wave around. So definitely we're going to see some strategy come into play, I have to believe, but currently out front it is still Chris Noble side by side with Alan Dobbs. Everyone pretty much as they were from where they rolled off for the restart, except for Dobbs leading that inside line. It is John Gifford second in line on the outside in that 82 truck, trying to give Chris Noble the boost he needs to get to the lead, but not really getting right up on that bumper like we've seen some of the other trucks do. So maybe just trying to keep the temps cool, although it did seem like Chris was clear. Ooh, that's a car below the yellow line. That is Ernie Ludwig, the Canadian, just dipping below the yellow there. Looked as if he might have gotten a wayward push from the 24 of Hilton Young. We know since Hilton didn't make practice or qualifying, he might be a bit out of practice with pushing in these trucks. So still probably getting it figured out, but everyone's back in order and in line. And Chris Noble is on the inside line. He has the race lead ahead of Alan Dobbs. And the 3 truck of Rick Webb I just saw there on the outside line. In fact, he's leading that outside line. So John Gifford pushed Chris Noble to the front, but now he's stuck behind the 3 truck of Rick Webb. He doesn't get to lead that outside line for very long.
Yeah, big shout out to Ernie there running. If you see the logo on his car, he's racing for John. That's for John King from Malaysia. He has brain cancer and real big. I mean, most people know who he is in iRacing. He's with Big Boss of Kinetic Racing. He organizes that major series in iRacing, and just hang it. Really cool to see them support John King in the tough moment. So big shout out to Ernie for doing that. So, but right now you got Nobles out in front. See, the outside line finally worked for him.
Yeah, and it got real dicey there. Rick Webb dove to the inside lane as that outside wasn't really moving, and he got his nose chopped off by Greg Newsom, and those two are still going at it. It seems as though Greg is having some trouble holding that inside line. He's been riding in the outside most of it, but he cut down in front of Rick, and I don't know if Rick was all too pleased with that, because as we were saying, you know, it's pretty easy to make enemies and pretty difficult to make friends early on here. And it does seem as if Greg Newsom is making some enemies out there.
Yeah, you gotta make friends with 33 laps into 100, so actions always have an equal opposite reaction. So we'll have to see what happens as we're a third of the way through here.
Yeah, this is really the weakest we've seen the top line all race, currently led by John Gifford. He's dropped all the way back to 9th place now on the track, so 8 cars clear of that top lane. And as soon as I say that, we see Rick Webb, Richard Clement Sr., and Matt Knight all jump out to that outside lane, though Rick does jump back to the inside. Just seems as if he's trying to get a bit of a pull through the corner off of the 23 car in front of him. I don't think, ooh, the 4 car got near the wall there. That looked a bit squirrely, but he kept it under him. I don't think we're going to see that outside line make much progress until these guys can get lined up nose to tail. I think they expected to pop out and immediately get a run on the car in front of them, and it just didn't happen. They just started dropping. I don't know if they weren't formed closely together enough, or they just didn't time it right, but they're dropping back. Rick Webb currently showing 6th. He is still the first of the cars to the outside. And look who's there in 5th place, having just cracked the top 5. That's Josh Gordon, one of our trucks who didn't set a qualifying time. So definitely some games being played there by drivers. And similarly to the truck in front of him, Sean Garreau also did not set a qualifying time. So those guys just running their race and doing what they need to do at the moment. currently sitting 4th and 5th and looking in good shape as we come towards 5 laps to go in this stage.
Yep, 5 to go left on the stage, which is kind of time to find a spot where you're going to be able to make a move. If you don't want to be anybody's spot, you want to be Chris Noble because he's got that lead on the inside line. Then on the outside line, that really isn't nothing really working together so far. We'll take a look at the battle for the A2. There's the 23 going to try to work to the outside. Dobbs
And
might try to get up there, but
oh no! I saw that one coming. Yeah, that was. Well, that's the big one. There was some overlap there between Dobbs and, or not Dobbs, excuse me, between Rick Webb and the 23 truck of Greg Newsom, and Newsom was clear, and then he wasn't, and he turned just a little bit up into Rick Webb, and well, that's caused carnage on the tri-oval here. A whole host of trucks involved, and in fact, I'm sure it would be easier to check who wasn't involved in that as we see. I'm just watching the timing, and Chuck Waldrop and Chris Jenkins are very slowly picking their way through this field. So clearly that play worked for the two of them, but oh, there is, yeah, that's just about everybody, isn't it? Everybody from about 5th on back, as there is Josh Gordon sliding towards the pit wall. Here is the onboard from Kevin. Oh, just got a clip on the nose.
Wow, just got a little clip there. When they talk about the big one, that's the big one. That's why it's very important to be in the lead, because Chris Noble's spot is safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, his teammate, unfortunately, not so lucky. First car caught up in that. And there are going to be a lot of damaged trucks here. But so, who do we have surviving at the moment? Chris Noble is out in front of the field. Alan Dobbs, Sean Garreau, Matt Knight, Matthew Dyer, Bill Dolph all appear to have made it through somewhat relatively unscathed, as we get a wonderful slow motion of all those trucks tumbling through the tri-oval. Is that the 42 truck back there spinning to avoid it? Not much anybody could really do here. Just total carnage for everybody involved.
That's that moment you kind of close your eyes.
Yeah, so we have had a number of trucks pit, obviously some involved in that wreck, but some of them were not. Some just taking the opportunity to pit. I believe, I'm not sure, but this may count as the stage caution. I don't have word from race control yet. But I think, well, either this will be the stage caution or we'll get 1 lap of green before the stage yellow.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, that was the big one, and you're gonna see it every super speedway race, no matter what it is. Just one big highlight of that beautiful Ford FR500 Mustang leading this field. You see Dobbs elected to stay out. About half the field's in the pits right now.
Yeah, and no fast repairs in this race, so those drivers with damaged trucks are going to have to wait out the repairs on pit lane. So see a number of trucks racing to make it out and stay on the lead lap, but you'd have to believe a lot of them are going to be off the pace here, as we see some coming back down for further damage repairs. That is Patrick Rush in the 41 truck. So it'll be interesting to see who all is kind of up to pace once we get back going here.
Yeah, it's 1 to green. Looks like we're gonna get a couple lap shootout.
Yeah, it sure does. So currently I am showing 17 of the cars, or sorry, 16 of the cars on track at the moment. Those will be the cars on the lead lap, plus Patrick Rush, who we saw pit for further repairs to his truck. He'll want to get back going here soon, though, to make it before he loses the draft. But you'd have to believe a number of these trucks are just going to try and limp around in the stage with caution so they can get some more damage repairs. But at the moment, I'm showing quite a few cars 1 lap down or more. Uh, Josh Gordon, I believe, is going to be the last car on the lead lap, aside from Patrick Rush, so it'll either be 16 or 17 cars on the lead lap to take the restart here.
Yeah, 17 on the lead lap, but only one driver has elected to leave the room, and that would be Kevin Waugh.
Yeah, that's a shame. Well, it's always a shame to lose a significant chunk of the field early on in the race, and you know, we're not even to halfway yet, so still plenty of racing to go here, and still plenty of good hard racing for these trucks, but a lot of them are looking a little bit worse for wear. As we see Alan Dobbs going early on the restart there, seemed to catch Richard Clement by surprise. Richard definitely has some damage on that Ford truck, so he might be a little bit off the pace. There's a truck in the grass through the tri-oval. Looked like we almost had some more chaos there, but everybody's in a bit of a pack there through the turn 1 with a car on the apron as well. I believe that's something hit lane Dylan Canova. But it's a 4-truck breakaway at the front. Alan Dobbs, John Gifford, Chris Noble, Chris Jenkins. So definitely that play riding at the back seemed to work out for Chris Jenkins, as it did his teammate Chuck Waldrop in 7th. So perhaps it was the safer option just to ride behind the pack. People still getting sorted here. Some of those trucks don't look all that damaged, so I think it was just a matter of damaged trucks further up the order, kind of separating the pack there as we come to lap 40, the last lap before the stage yellow. And we see Chris Jenkins trying to make a move to the outside of Chris Noble. So Chris Noble's lost his teammate here as the 23 truck Greg Newsom was caught up in that wreck. In fact, was at the very start of that wreck. So it will be interesting to see how he fares without the help of his teammate. But right now, he is pushing the 22 truck of Alan Dobbs back to the front ahead of John Gifford. They have a huge run into turn number 3. Chris Jenkins trying to follow them along, but I don't think he's going to clear that 82 truck before he starts to pick up steam once again, and indeed he is not. It looks as though the 82 is going to grab 3rd as they head to the line for the stage yellow. Of course, we'll have to wait a little bit for the rest of the pack to come across. So still positions to be gained. There is the 24 truck in 10th. He crosses the line, and we get the yellow flag. So quite a hectic finish, and really the whole second stage there was quite hectic. But we've still got 15 trucks on the lead lap, and the good news is anyone who's still got some damage can take this opportunity to come down and get even more repairs done.
Yeah, most of the drivers that were involved in that accident are already up to 5 to 6 minutes of repairs, so I'm sure some of them got the good old 30 minutes required and just want to get some points. So
Yeah,
definitely
definitely.
when your points race, you got to repair the damage no matter what. Just go out in the kitchen, find something else to do for about 30 minutes, and then come back. Hey, maybe turn on Apex Racing TV's coverage of this race. So
For sure.
Get the damage repaired.
Yeah, I'm looking at guys like Josh Gordon, Dylan Canova, those guys who have just kind of limped around after the restart to try and take advantage of this opportunity. We should see Dylan Canova get the lucky dog here, as he was a lap down just barely when that yellow came out. So he should get waved by the field here and have the opportunity to repair a bit more of his damage.
Get that damage repaired. Come back out, get as many positions as you can get. But we got nice little field still able to win this race. It's anybody's game, Tyler. I mean, Dobbs and Noble's been up front, Jenkins, Gifford, but anybody can win this race. I mean, take a look at Derbyshire up, who was supposed to start on the pole, able to get back up to 6, but 42 laps of 100 down here. These finishing positions aren't even close to what they could be, so it's still anyone's game. A couple drivers are gonna make their way down pit road. Gotta make sure you're on that good pit road speed limit.
Absolutely, and of course, no pit speed limiters in these cars. These drivers have got to be watching that speed all the way down pit lane. You saw Dylan Canova staying out here. Obviously, he's not allowed to pit as a lapped car, but he should, I would expect, get the lucky dog here and get the opportunity to come down pit lane. A couple other cars potentially taking the wave around here. Patrick Rush among them, Matthew Dyer as well.
Real quick pit stop for a couple of these drivers that not taking all the fuel because they didn't use much fuel in about the 16-ish laps of green flag racing, maybe 15. So
No,
quick
and
pit stops.
interesting, Dustin Smith did not pit, and he will lead this field actually. So he is going to be the race leader once this all resumes, ahead of Chris Noble, who was the first car off of pit lane with a super quick stop. A lot of these drivers having quite quick stops. Some of the others further back, taking tires, taking damage repairs. So it'll take a little bit for the field to get sorted, but Dustin Smith will be your race leader, assuming he doesn't come down pit lane a little later here.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he comes down pit road. Because pit road's gonna be open for lap cars, which is including anybody that's on the lead lap. So the 20-year-old Dustin Smith. We'll see if he's gonna make his way down pit road. These pace laps are long, Tyler. It's a 2.5-mile track, and well, when you're stuck behind a pace car, thankfully it's just a stage yellow. It takes a while. We'll see if it makes that hard left-hand turn behind that beautiful Ford FR500 Mustang.
Yeah, the good news, it is good news that these pace laps do take so long, because it gives these drivers an opportunity to do their damage repairs. Chris Jenkins faking as if he was going to make a second pit stop, but he is not. Don't believe that a couple extra laps of fuel would help all that much in the long run here. But it is Dustin Smith leading this race, although Chris Noble's just pulled ahead. There you see Patrick Rush getting the wave. Oh, Patrick Rush got the wave around and then spun it. And the field is going to have to avoid him there.
Oops.
That was bizarre. Almost looked like something happened to him. Like a hardware issue or something. Oh, that is...
I hate to see it.
He shifted to first instead of third. Is that what happened? That's what it looked like. Because the rev suddenly went sky high and the car spun on him. So something to do with an incorrect shift there. Sent that car for a spin, and he is set back to pit lane. So it will not be a wave around and the lead lap for Patrick Rush. Unfortunately, it's going to be a tow back to pit lane and a long wait on the pit lane. But Chris Noble in that outside line alongside Dustin Smith. We really haven't seen all that much of Dustin. He's up 22 spots, so he must have been one of the cars that did not qualify, starting in 24th place. Behind him is Austin Derbyshire, the driver who was supposed to be on the pole of this race, but he didn't get his practice laps in. So he is currently sitting second in that inside line. The driver I'm keeping my eye on is Chris Jenkins, second in that outside line. We've seen Chris be fast here so far today. It would not be... I think a lot of drivers... as they are back to green, it was a slow start there for everybody. And that outside line looks a bit depleted. I think a number of drivers possibly had pit road penalties or end-of-the-line penalties due to, coming in multiple times for damage repairs, stuff like that, wave ties, all that jazz. But in fact, there are a number of cars who just are not with the pack right now. They're really falling back. So people struggling to get going here. There is the lead pack, though. It's a group of 7 cars from Chris Noble back to Chuck Waldrop. And Chris Jenkins is giving Chris Noble a heck of a push. And those two are going to be well clear of the 87 truck as they head into turn number 3. But Chris Jenkins wants more. He wants that race lead. He's got the help of Alan Dobbs on the outside line, who is going to presumably give him a shove to the front.
Yeah, he wants that Marshall University truck out in front. He's going to dive down in front of Chris Noble. That's going to give Dobbs the lead on the outside line. But Dobbs doesn't have help for a couple truck lengths. These race trucks do really well in the draft, so we'll see if Dobbs is able to get a little bit of help. Back from Chris Jenkins. Look at that 53, that Chevy Silverado, getting right on his rear bumper, utilizing him pushing just to keep on going. So Jenkins out in front. It's a Chris show right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's really silly to pick favorites or potential winners at a super speedway race, but the way Chris Jenkins has raced today, he continues to find himself in the front. And really, I have to say, I'd be surprised, barring issue, if the winner did not come from that group of three at the front. Um, Chris, and Alan, we've seen those three fight their way to the lead multiple times today, each one of them. So I would expect to see those three up front when the bell rings and this race is nearing its conclusion.
Yeah, 14 drivers still on the lead lap. The first car 2 laps down is Watson. So he's in that lucky dog position, Jordan Watson, but he'll need a couple yellows to get back in to the field. One of the 2 Toyotas in the field. Actually, 2 Toyotas are right next to each other, 14th and 15th in the order, but we got Dustin Smith in that Silverado working to the outside line behind that Ford F-150, Austin Derbyshire. We'll see if Dustin's going to be able to give that outside lane a little bit of help.
He's certainly moving up the order as it stands right now, with help from Dustin Smith, who we are on board with. It does look like, oh no, sorry, it's just the logo on the back is a bit arched on Austin Derbyshire's car. I thought he was. Pretty clean truck, that 64 truck of Austin Derbyshire, and he is trying to give some help to John Gifford at the moment, but we've just seen such strong performances from the 3 cars on that inside line. I think they're going to be tough to beat, but all it takes is one good push to get a car ahead of the inside line there, and John Gifford has been there or thereabouts all race as well. So still anyone's game at this point, as we've been saying. We're not even halfway yet, still 2 laps away from the halfway point in this race. There's a lot of racing to go for these drivers.
Yeah, this gyro cam is really showing that banking going through the trial. Here we got a slow car, or slow truck, excuse me, coming through. Going to hold the bottom line. They're going to be 3 wide for a little bit. That's the 52 of Jordan Watson. That Toyota's going to go 3 laps down now. But yeah, Derbyshire, we got this nice onboard camera with the Apex Racing TV gyro cam, and just really, that banking is just insane. I've only been on the front stretch. I just couldn't imagine what it's like in the corner.
Yeah, I believe it's 31 degrees of banking. It's a lot, and these trucks are riding it expertly as they navigate this 2.5 mile track. John Gifford still leading that outside line, but Austin Derbyshire's had enough of pushing. Perhaps his truck getting a little too warm, and he ducks to the inside line in behind Chris Noble. Certainly, this pack has pulled well clear of any of the chasing cars. It's 12 seconds back to that sort of secondary group of cars led at the moment by James Doan in the 42 truck. Dylan Canova, Bill Dolph, Sean Garreau, Hilton Young, Josh Gordon, all of whom I believe, with the potential exception of Hilton Young, were involved in that crash. So that is a group of damaged cars, and they are being dropped rapidly, even though you can see them back there in single file order. So despite the battling going on up here, that train of trucks rather is losing this lead pack pretty steadily.
Yep, just getting ready to cross the halfway point here at the Daytona International Speedway for the Majors Garage 250, and 125 miles down. We got another 125 to go.
Absolutely, still pit stops for sure, which can spark chaos. If we get some green flag pit stops, there's still the potential for yellows with some of the slower trucks out there causing issues. But at the moment, they're actually pretty much lined up in that front group. We're riding on the splitter of Chuck Waldrop here, who's just kind of hanging in the back of this group, which is what Chuck's been doing pretty much all race. He was at the back for most of the second stage, and I believe the first stage as well. So his strategy is very clear. It's stay in touch with the leaders, but don't fight for the lead. And it seems to be serving Chuck well so far, as he is in 7th place in that 7th truck.
Yeah, Chuck, he was working with the leader, Chris Jenkins, right before the caution. The big wreck, excuse me. So he wants to get up to his buddy and kind of battle for the lead, but he's able to get there. He's 4 spots up from his starting spot, doing really well with Dustin Smith in front of him, up 18 spots. A lot of it has to do with the big wreck we saw right before the stage break. But yeah, Dustin Smith doing a good job, the 20-year-old, that Chevrolet.
Yeah, Austin Derbyshire's jumped back to that high line. He wants to try and get it working again. See if he can't push John Gifford to the front. They're the strongest they've been in a little bit, pretty much since Austin jumped to that inside lane, but a little bit of a wiggle there from the 64 truck, and that's going to cost them some momentum. But they're hanging tough side by side for first place. John Gifford wants that race lead, and he's not far off it. A big push there from Austin. Gets him a nose ahead into turn number 1. He'll probably lose that just by virtue of taking a longer way around this corner, but you would expect with some momentum on the exit, these two can potentially pull ahead, and maybe that 82 truck can go to 75, although it does look as though they've lost some ground through the corner, and probably not enough to get back, though there is a gap between the 75 and 53 truck. There's also a gap between the 82 and 64 truck, so neither of these pushers really pushing all that hard, giving all they can to that bump draft. Definitely have to monitor your temperatures in these cars or trucks, as the case may be.
Yeah, if you're, yeah, top 7 are in the same this pack. I mean, really no reason to push it 3 wide. Just kind of cruise around. It's lap 54 of 100. Now, you know, wait about 10, 20 laps, and you can kind of see what you got. Make kind of like a mock run to the finish. 54 down, on lap 54 of 100, Tyler. So still ways to go. The drivers are just kind of mind the P's and Q's and cruising kind of on a late Sunday drive on this beautiful Thursday night in the virtual Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah, you know, everyone hates it as a viewing audience, but you have to wonder if these drivers wouldn't be better off just getting single file and riding around like that, some sort of, you know, agreement. But everyone in a virtual race, everyone knows they can lead, and I think everybody wants to lead. So there's, you know, it's certainly with no urgency that John Gifford and Austin Derbyshire are fighting for this race lead, but they're also not single file, so they're doing something to try and make this race lead happen. But I do wonder if they might be better off just riding in line single file.
Yeah, if you like what you're seeing now, I mean, these truck drivers are doing a really good job. But guess what, Tyler? Where can we see them tomorrow night?
Right here on Apex Racing TV, and we're going to see the Xfinity cars as it is for the MSRA, the National Series here for the 300-mile race tomorrow night. It's going to be a great show, I have to believe, given what we've seen from these truck drivers. So make sure you tune in. Unfortunately, I don't believe Avery's going to be able to join me, but all that means is you get to hear the dulcet Italian tones of Marco Barbonero on the commentaries. So plenty to tune in for tomorrow night for the MSRA 300-mile race National Series, the Colton Creel 300, excuse me, tomorrow night.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tyler, I won't be there. I got some basketball I got to cover tomorrow night, but I'll definitely have it tuned in for the time I can be watching. Hear you and Marco, because pretty potent combo. I've heard you guys before, and make sure you tune in. And you know, while you're watching right now, might as well hit that subscribe button so you can get that notification when we're live again, bringing you the race tomorrow night. But right now, it's Jenkins out in front. You got a slow truck in the way. They're giving way 3 wide for just a little bit, but when a truck is that slow, it's able to get around it pretty easy.
Yeah, certainly, and the added advantage too of just having a 7-car lead draft. When it's 2 lines, 13 rows deep, it's a lot tougher to work your way around a single car. But when it's just 3 lines, you can be a bit more lenient.
Yeah, definitely be a little more lenient. You don't really need to go for it. It's lap 57 of 100. You see that lap car coming up, and you can just let him by, nice and easy. Fortunately for the lap truck, he wasn't able to keep pace with this little 7 truck pack. But you know, take a look at Jenkins right now, up 5 positions in the front. But let's give another shout out to Dustin Smith, who's up 19 spots in that 87 Chevrolet, putting on a really stellar effort right now. He wants to get a couple more spots so he can get a little more hard of a charge. Yeah, see the 82 getting a little run at Gifford.
Yeah, sorry, Avery. I've just noticed we've lost 2 trucks off the lead lap, Josh Gordon and Hilton Young. I don't know if something happened to them or if they've made another trip down pit lane, but they have lost a lap to the race leaders and lost touch with that secondary pack, which they were hanging on to. I don't know if we can cut to that secondary pack. Oh, there is Josh. Actually, we see him now going a lap down. But if we can see that secondary pack led by James Doan, there it is. So they're still all single file there, but just looking at the lap times, they're losing almost a second and a half. Sorry, more than a second and a half per lap to that lead group. So it's not going to be all that long before, certainly before the end of the race, before this pack gets overtaken by that lead group. And you know, that's just by virtue of these cars being damaged. And you know, it's the nature of the iRacing damage model, which I think everybody has their opinions about, and certainly, hopefully, we see the new damage model coming to these trucks soon, because it's you know, having raced some of the road cars that have it, it's a definite improvement. But it's just what you have to live with in these trucks, which is any significant damage is just going to cost you straight line speed, and at these super speedways, that's just massive. So James Doan is doing all he can right now, but at the moment, it's not all that much, and he sits currently about 30 seconds behind the race leader, Chris Jenkins.
So yeah, 30 seconds, about a second and a half. I'm good with math for the calculator, but it won't be too long until the lead pack is going to catch up to them. And puts a couple more trucks down. Oh, you got a caution. Oh, nope. Graphic bug. Oh.
No yellow.
No
Don't
yellow.
worry about
No yellow.
it. We are still green, as you can see by those trucks who have once again got a race for the race lead. John Gifford trying to make that outside line work. This time, the truck who's given him the push is the 87 truck of Dustin Smith, though. Dustin nearly had a repeat there of the big one that we saw getting to the outside of John Gifford in the tri-oval. He slots back in now, but they've lost all the momentum they had, and would expect it to take a couple of laps before they get up towards the race lead again. Kind of sort of seeing that tandem racing that we used to see in NASCAR, everybody 2x2 in this front group. It's Jenkins and Noble, Dobbs and Derbyshire on the bottom, though they have caught a bit back up. And then John Gifford and Dustin Smith up top. Chuck Waldrop, as we've said before, just kind of hanging on to the back of this group. And I don't think that's because he's slow. I think that's where he wants to be right now. He could very easily close that gap if he wanted to, but he's just happy to sit back there in that 7 truck and let this stage play out for now.
Yeah, lap 62 of 100. This is the last stage, final stage for this 250 miler Daytona National Speedway. And the top 7 have broken away by 2 seconds over 8th place.
Oh, that's a push gone wrong there. It sent Chris Jenkins below the yellow line. They get it sorted now. It's unfortunate the top line hadn't gotten themselves organized in time, because that could have been massive, a massive momentum boost for John Gifford, taking him out to the lead. But he currently doesn't have much help from Dustin Smith. They're separated by about a truck's length. So they find themselves pretty much in line with second place Chris Noble. And still dropping back. So not able to conjure up any momentum in that outside line, and I don't think we're going to see much of a challenge for that race lead until we near the end of this race. But I do know for sure that Chris Noble and Alan Dobbs are not going to sit back there and let this race go to Chris Jenkins when all is said and done, as there's another wayward push, and Alan Dobbs has had enough of sitting behind this, but he doesn't have any help. He jumps to the outside line, but John Gifford says, thank you for the spot on the inside line, and tucks right where Alan Dobbs was. And he will move presumably up into 3rd place. So now Austin Derbyshire, who had been working with Alan Dobbs on the inside line, is giving him some help. And now Chris Noble has had enough of staring at the rear end of Chris Jenkins, and he moves to the outside line. So we've got a race for the lead on, with Alan Dobbs pushing Chris Noble here. And Chris Jenkins is all of a sudden thinking, I thought we were just riding here.
Yeah, it's the Chris and Chris show right now. You got Chris on the bottom and Chris on the outside. And Dobbs is happy he's got some help. We'll see if Dobbs is going to be able to clear him. No, but Noble could clear him, come down. But, you know, this is maybe the point of the race that he wants to, I want to have a friend in Alan Dobbs, because Dobbs is quick. probably like, hey, I'm just going to hang in the draft and wait till he's clear to come down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, he has cleared him, but it does seem like we've seen this before with Chris Noble, where he wants to take his drafting partner on the outside with him, who at the moment is Alan Dobbs, and Dobbs is not quite clear of Chris Jenkins as they head into turn 1, and he's going to have trouble clearing him out of turn 2 because that inside line just gets around the corner quicker given the shorter distance to travel.
Yeah, more distance to travel. Take a look at Chris Noble. He's trying to help out Dobbs by, being able to lead the bottom line, but not quite. That's tough to do here with these trucks because your run kind of fans out. So we got another lap car coming up. It's going to stay on the outside line. Yep, it's going to stay there.
I believe that is the 8 truck losing another lap, Josh Gordon. Yes, it is. So Josh really struggling there, and he is well off of the pace there. Saw something almost happen. Ooh, that's Hilton Young. I think he has left the session. Yes, oh no, he's jumped back in. Oh, he had another disconnect. So Hilton, we saw had one before the race started, and unfortunately he's had some more internet troubles. But there are your 2 new leaders, Chris Noble and Alan Dobbs. They did clear Chris Jenkins and all the chaos there. And we have a new top 3. Chris Noble, Alan Dobbs, and Chris Jenkins all in a line. It's the same drivers, just a different order as it stands, though John Gifford is trying to make something happen now on the outside.
Yeah, it looks like the Huntington, West Virginia native Chris Jenkins is going to just let him go to the bottom of the racetrack. I mean, that would be, I would say, the preferred move for John, to go to the bottom instead of have Jenkins take the line away. But no, he's going to have a little bit of help coming from the 8-7 of Dustin Smith, who's up 20 positions so far. And he just wants to get a couple more, get to the lead. So really good run by Dustin Smith as we're on lap 67 of 100.
Indeed we are, and John Gifford's got the best run he's had in a while, but he doesn't have help. He is all alone on that outside line. The 87 truck of Dustin Smith trying to get to his back bumper, but by the time he does, the inside line is regrouped. Austin Derbyshire slots 3rd in line there. He has Chris Jenkins, excuse me, in behind him. So Jenkins dropping back, presumably I think the plan there was to go pick up, I don't know if they're teammates, but they're certainly friends because they've worked together already in this race, Chuck Waldrop, who was starting to lose the draft, I think. So Chris dropping back just a little bit there, but he now has Chuck Waldrop back in tow, and Dustin Smith alongside him, but it's single file at the moment out front. And as they're working their way around, they are not more than 4 or 5 laps from catching that secondary pack, led by James Doan. They are 42.5 seconds back, with the leaders doing 49-second laps, excuse me. So probably, well, the lap time varies for that second pack, but it's looking like it's going to be about 7 or so laps till they catch him. Wonder if we will see pit stops happening before that happens, but at the moment it's all single file out front. So finally everybody's settled in, had enough of the side-by-side racing, and actually they're a bit spread out. I wonder if Chris Jenkins is having overheating problems, because he keeps pulling out of the tow. Now he slots in behind the 87 truck. So, and the 87 truck heads for pit lane, as does the 82. So these two obviously in some form of communications, because you never want to pit alone at a super speedway. It's a great way to lose the draft and lose touch with the rest of the field. But we now see a 3-car breakaway out front. It's Chris Noble, Alan Dobbs, and Austin Derbyshire. Chris Jenkins and Chuck Waldrop sit about 1.5 seconds back. So they're just on the limit of drafting range from these two. But certainly it seems like there's some issues going on for the 75 and the 7, whether they're just running a bit too hot, or they've got a bit of damage and are having trouble keeping up with the draft. They are losing touch all of a sudden with that lead group.
Yeah, you definitely need pit together. We'll see if a couple drive. Yep, 3 trucks are going. All 5 of those trucks are going to make their way down pit road. And 53 starts to squeal the tires a little bit, locks him up a little bit. But it goes Nobles, Dobbs, Derbyshire, Jenkins, a wall drop. The top 5 making their way down pit road. Need to get a good pit entrance here, get a good stop, wheel straight, and foot on the brake.
And you cannot afford a pit speeding penalty here. It is absolutely killer, especially ooh, and the 53 slid through his box, as did the 7, I believe. They both had to reverse there. That's going to cost them some time. At the moment, that's only track position, but you look at the 7 car, if he takes too long getting out of the pits, he could very easily lose this draft. So at the moment, as they head off pit road, it's the 22 of Alan Dobbs from Chris Jenkins, Austin Derbyshire, then a little bit of a gap back to Chris Noble, who has a not insignificant back gap to Chuck Waldrop. Here are the 2 cars who pit before, John Gifford and Dustin Smith. They're not really running together, which is what I would have expected. And that will probably mean that they're going to have to slot in towards the back of this group of cars or trucks. It's an ambiguous term. We can call them cars if we want, but I've just decided that. But but Alan Dobbs leads the race at the moment, ahead of Chris Jenkins and Austin Derbyshire. They are all in line together. Chris Noble is about 3/4 of a second back from the race leader. He should have no trouble keeping up with these 2. Then it's John Gifford. There's a lapped car, the 8 car in there. He's got about a 1.5 seconds back to Dustin Smith, who has help from Chuck Waldrop and James Doan. So this is that group that was in danger of going a lap down. They have not made their last pit stop yet, and all of a sudden they're back with this group.
Yeah, at the slower speed, not using as much fuel. I'd expect them to come down pit road very soon. We are on lap 72 of 100, almost to the 3/4 mark.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me is James Doan has hung on to the back of Dustin Smith and Chuck Waldrop. So it does seem that James was probably the car in that pack that didn't have damage compared to the other cars around him. Unfortunately, by virtue of being the leader of that pack, there's not much he can do to make up ground. But look, he's trying to make a move now around Chuck Waldrop. It certainly seems like that truck has plenty of pace left in it. Oh, and they've made contact. So that truck had plenty of pace in it, but that is going to be gone now. And poor Chuck Waldrop is going to be another big loser there, because there's no way he didn't get some damage from that. As James Doan, that truck is going to be done. That is not damage. That is going to be easily repairable, trailing smoke like that.
Yeah, that car's done, though. Loaded on the truck. Yeah, what a commentator's curse there, Tyler.
It happens, but
it happens. It happens to me all the time, and it happens.
Yeah, I just feel bad for Chuck Waldrop there, because he was nothing wrong and just trying to stick with that lead group, and really had a solid strategy all race of keeping his nose clean. But as we see James Doan making his way back to pit lane, Chuck's managed to stay out, and he's still ahead of several of those cars who were in that secondary pack, though now he's dropped behind another Aaron Tyner. There is the leaders, so it looks like Chris Jenkins is right up on the rear bumper of Alan Dobbs. He doesn't need to be that close. Maybe trying to get a gap so he can get a run on him, but at the moment it is Dobbs from Jenkins.
Look at those internals.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So there is Dobbs giving seemingly the lead to Chris Jenkins. Chris Noble pulls up behind him, but they're not going to be able to do much with that. James Doan still in pit lane after that contact. Chuck Waldrop still on track, but he's in that secondary group of cars led by Dylan Canova. Actually, he's now leading that group with help from, I believe that's the 24 truck of Hilton Young, who we've seen had connection issues this race. There's Josh Gordon. Long delayed making his way down pit lane for yet another trip into the pits. Here is Alan Dobbs, though, who had just given that lead up, getting help from Chris Noble to take it back.
Yeah, getting ready to pass the 3/4 mark here at the Daytona International Speedway. Here on Apex Racing TV, and Dobbs out in front. And that's the Chris show in second and third. Derbyshire sitting in 4th. Then 10 seconds back, it's Gifford and Smith. Well, 15 seconds back, it's Waldron, Canova, Tyner, and Dolph. So, and Tyner, Canova, Dolph, and Giroux are down at pit road, getting their service, getting that fuel. They pretty much gonna be good to go on fuel. So, those guys need a caution. These leaders up in front don't want to see that.
Absolutely not. And they almost had one there. If it had been a bigger incident between Waldrop and Doan, they might have seen one. But unfortunately for them, it didn't come to play out that way. With 25 laps to go here, just coming to 24 to go, just wanted to mention the series sponsors once again. The Veterans of Foreign Affairs, the Veterans of Foreign Wars is a nonprofit veteran service organization comprised of eligible veterans and military service members from active, guard, and reserve forces. Across America, the initials VFW are a familiar sight, symbolizing commitment to the nation both at home and abroad. Core values of the VFW include promoting patriotism, honoring military service, and ensuring the care of veterans and their families. To learn more about the VFW, visit vfw.org. And Major's Garage Shop, the title sponsor for the race, offers individual setup subscriptions, telemetry, and coaching to iRacing members. Our setup shop has been highly approved by our customers, with over 200 drivers giving an average of a 5-star rating. You can visit our website at majorsgarage.com. And thanks again to those sponsors for making this race and this broadcast happen here on Apex Racing TV. And as we have mentioned a couple of times, you can tune in once again tomorrow for the National Series contingent of the MSRA here for the Colton Creel 300 at Daytona. It's going to be an excellent race, and I think we are really looking forward to it. Yet another great broadcast here with the MSRA on Apex Racing TV. But we've still got 23 laps of Truck Series racing to go. It is currently Alan Dobbs in the lead in the 22 truck ahead of Chris Noble. Chris Jenkins just now making a move on the outside for third with absolutely no help around the outside of Austin Derbyshire. This pack is broken away from the 3 other trucks on the lead lap, that being John Gifford, Dustin Smith, and Chuck Waldrop. So a couple of lap trucks trying to help Dustin Smith and John Gifford, but really they're going to need a yellow to get back up in this. And then Chuck Waldrop all on his own.
All by himself.
Yeah. Oh, I guess he's not. He does have the help.
Nope.
24 truck, that being Hilton Young, who has had some issues here today. But Hilton will hopefully keep Chuck from dropping a lap, but with the damage, Chuck's going to need a yellow just to get some repairs, much less get back into this race.
Yeah, big shout out to Hilton. Had some connection. It's just, but he's stuck in it. I mean, really, it's easy to get down when your connection's not doing right, or you're just not quite in the position you want. Ride by yourself. A big shout out to Hilton for staying tough and helping a guy out that needs some help right now.
Yeah, it's the camaraderie that you get with league racing. I find that you don't often find in the officials on iRacing, just by virtue of knowing the people who you're running with. Hilton could have abandoned long ago with his issues, but obviously he still wants to score points, and the best way to do that is by latching on and helping out Chuck Waldrop there. So Hilton's doing well, actually. He's up in 15th place, which is, I'm sure not where he wanted to be, but it's going to be a decent haul of points there for him.
Yeah, get the points when you can. Now it's a 4-car, still the 4-car battle. But now the Chris show has been separated by the Canadian Austin Derbyshire, who was supposed to be on the pole but didn't get the requirements in to not get an EOL. So he's worked his way up from the back to the front, putting on a stellar performance. He is, but 20 laps to go. Still single file. That 75 of Chris Jenkins is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got some tire issues or he's just figuring out how far back he can get without losing touch, because he really seems to be on a razor's edge there, and he's running all by himself really behind this pack. So it's definitely tough for Chris Jenkins, but we've seen him put some stellar moves on already in this race, and it would not be surprising at all for me to see him pull out the win here when all's said and done. But he's going to need to make something happen before 20 laps are up. But here, I think that's what he's doing, honestly. Just kind of timing what sort of run he can get by laying back a bit. So he's nearly cleared Austin Derbyshire for third place. He didn't quite get it done, and that's going to set him back and forth. But, you know, if you know that you can get that sort of run on somebody from, say, half a second back, then if you can position yourself in second place before the final lap, you've got yourself set up for a great finish.
Yep. Got to find out what you're going to do. This is kind of the time to put a little mock qualifying run, mock race finish run, but you don't want to show them what you've got too early, and you know. But we'll see what happens. 18 laps to go down the back straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Chris Jenkins is still at the disadvantage here. He's fourth in line of 4 cars. He's going to need to push somebody forward before he gets help to get to the front, and he's going to need help to get to the front. It's not going to be something he can do by himself, as we see a couple of lap cars peel off into pit lane there. But he has pulled in front of Austin Derbyshire, who tried to make that outside line work, and had about the same fate as Chris Jenkins, as we see a few of the cars still on pit lane there, getting their damage repairs. Rick Webb has been there for an awful long time.
Big shout out to Patrick Rush, though. 33 minutes in the pits, and he's back out on the track.
He's back on track.
That's what I like to see.
Excellent.
Someone that's dedicated. That's dedication right there.
Hey, you go for every point, every position you can. This is racing. So, yeah, good on Patrick for sticking with it. Good on Rick for sticking with it. I think he's actually on an outlap now. Indeed, he is. He's on track after 45 minutes in the pit lane. So, Rick Webb's not giving up today, and he is in 23rd place overall. So, it'll be a little bit before he can make up any ground, but you know, at least he can log some laps and you know, get a bit of a feel for what's left of that truck. As we see, seems to be pairs of 2 that the leaders have split off in, and then I wonder if now this is Chris Jenkins timing his runs from 3rd, because I don't think Austin's going to go with him here, and that's probably going to drop him back to 4th. But he's able to get all the way alongside that 53 truck there as they head into turn 3, and he does have a gap. He wiggles back in the lane. That was some aggressive cutting back and forth from Chris Jenkins. Don't know if he's got the steering wheel ratio quite low or what, or quite high rather, but he is certainly making some sharp moves back in the line.
Yeah, I'm sure he's hoping for once to get close to the showtime, the winner to wear it moment, be able to pull out with Derbyshire giving him a good push. So, I mean, that's probably why he made that move. And oh, here he goes to the outside, and guess who's staying on the bottom of the racetrack? That's Derbyshire. That's the risk you take, man. You can go to the outside, but if nobody's going to come help you, I mean, you're going to fall right back. He's just lucky it's a 4-car pack, because if it was a bigger pack, he'd be going to the way back of the pack.
Yeah, and it's exactly what Austin Derbyshire had happen to him about 3 or 4 laps before this. So definitely just some tactics being played. Maybe even those 2 are just trying to get the top 2 to think about what they're going to do, you know, and what those back 2 trucks can do. But I would say probably the guy sitting in the catbird seat right now is Chris Noble. I'd want to be the truck in 2nd place. I don't know about you, Avery, but to me, I'd rather be, you know, when you're the leader, you're not in control of the situation. All you can do is try and anticipate where Chris Noble is going to go and cut him off before he gets there, but that could very easily go wrong for you. If you're the car in 2nd place, you have so many opportunities just to time your runs to try and get the advantage on the car ahead of you. And, you know, if the cars behind you don't go with you and you lose out, you know, oh well, you still get 2nd place. But at least you're kind of in control of your own destiny a little bit more than the leader.
Yeah, you definitely want to try to be in 2nd place and Saw a little lake smoke in front of them. That's probably a connection going out that pack. Just in front of them. Got to believe James Waldrop, not James Waldrop, excuse me, Chuck Waldrop is. I know somebody with the name James Waldrop. I'm so sorry, Chuck. Might be in that little pack, but yeah, side by side again. Jenkins on the outside. There's a pack with Chuck Waldrop.
Yeah, along with Dylan Canova and Aaron Tyner, who are both a lap down. So Chuck Waldrop, the only car in that pack on the lead lap, though he probably won't be for much longer here as this lead pack barrels down on that group of 4. They just don't have the pace of that lead group, which is not totally surprising considering the lead group is probably the 4 cars in this race who don't have any sort of damage right now. So they continue prowling around. Dustin Smith and John Gifford continue to lose time as well. But I don't believe they're damaged. I think that's just by virtue of being a smaller pack.
This could be exciting. Too wide as the leaders are catching up to him. There we go. There we go. Clear out.
Yeah, I think that was Chris Jenkins trying to get a toe off the pack to get him around Austin Derbyshire, but it didn't work out in the end. But here we see this group kind of sorting in behind. Chuck Waldrop will be really hoping for a yellow so he can get that lucky dog and get his lap back, but he is rapidly running out of time with just 11 laps to go here.
Yep, back with the Apex Racing TV gyro camera on Chris Jenkins, that number 75 up in 4th. Just buying us time. We tend to go at the line. Make sure you stay tuned because these are some of the more exciting finishes you're ever going to see on iRacing is on the super speedways, and how fast these 4 trucks are. We could have a good one on our hands. How about a 4 wide finish? That's not too much to ask for.
That's the thing with speedway racing on iRacing. It doesn't matter if you have 2 trucks. You're going to get an exciting finish. So it can be 4, it can be 30. Just as long as there's at least 2 drivers in it at the end, you're going to get some action on the closing laps. So 10 to go now for these drivers as we ride on board with Chris Jenkins with the gyro cam here through turn number 2 and on to the back straight. I just really don't know if Chris is content to be sitting back here or he'd rather be up front further, but he's certainly making the moves happen that he needs to get a figure on what the end of this race is going to look like.
Yep, he's buying his time, the Huntington, West Virginia native. On board now with Alan Dobbs looking back at Chris Noble and trying to get information on his setup.
Yes, that is one of the slicker ways to do it. Of course, you have to have somebody watching the broadcast who can tell you what the suspension.
And otherwise, it's too late.
But yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but Dobbs continues to lead. Do I have laps left anymore? I'm trying to figure out who's led the most laps in this race because I have to believe it's between Dobbs and Jenkins. Those two have both spent considerable amount of time out front in this race. Don't have it up in front of me at the moment. But Dobbs continuing to pull this pack around, and my expectation would be that he will do that until the final lap unless Derbyshire and Jenkins make a move together, which is certainly possible.
Yeah, it could be possible. 8 laps to go. It gets down to that nitty-gritty time. If you're gonna pull a block or what you're gonna do. I mean, but once again, some of these drivers could be in communication, so it really helps out with finding who's gonna work with you. But you just got you got 3 people, the 3 other people. If you're in that pack, one of them's got to be your friend.
Yeah, interesting there. The gap that Austin Derbyshire is leaving to Chris Noble. Part of that is just the way the plate package in iRacing works sometimes, as we see the 23 truck there, and I believe that's James Doan in the 42, and they stay well out of the way there. But you can sometimes get a gap to the top 2 as the 3rd car in line, just by virtue of the 2nd car in line tucking right up under the bumper of the leader. What it does is it gives you some momentum as that third car in line to build a run. And if you're ever going to make that move happen, uh, like Austin Derbyshire might want to, he's going to need that gap to build up some momentum. But at the moment, he's got Chris Jenkins to his outside, trying to make that move for third happen. I don't think it's going to, but good on Chris for trying once again. I think he might, by doing this, just be kind of telling Austin Derbyshire, "Hey, man, it's time to go." We can't do much sat in third and fourth. Uh, if we're stuck behind the front two and they go too wide, there's not going to be much room for us to maneuver. So, not biting is Austin Derbyshire. He stays in line on the inside with 6 laps to go. But something's got to have to happen here soon for those third and fourth drivers if they're going to want to be a factor in this finish. But at the moment, they're actually losing touch with those top two just a smidge. Chris Jenkins is going to want to get in line here to close that gap back up, but he's trying to get a toe off this pack on the high line.
Yep, just getting around that slower pack. And Jenkins to the outside of Derbyshire. They're probably going to want to get single file soon, otherwise they're going to lose the toe.
I think what Chris is thinking here is that Derbyshire is far enough back that if he can get a good run, he can leapfrog him and get into third. But the danger with that is if they stay side by side for too long, he can get into third, but he'll lose touch of the leaders, and that doesn't do him any good. So they're going to have to close that gap back down right now, sitting about a half-second back. They're still well within the toe range. They're not in grave danger of losing touch. But if they try that with 2 laps to go, Chris Noble can get right up under the bumper of Alan Dobbs without having to worry about his temperatures and build that gap up. At the moment, there's too much time left and too much worry about engine temperature to make that happen. But here it is. Austin Derbyshire has decided it's time to make that move happen that Chris Jenkins has been trying to tell him about for about 5 laps now. He makes the move to the outside of Chris Noble. I get the sense that this is going to be side by side for the remaining 4 laps.
Yeah, side by side here. 4 laps to go. Dobbs gonna be able to hold him off.
Yeah, for now, Chris Noble we've seen be a pretty excellent pusher here tonight, including helping on one occasion to get Chris Jenkins to the lead, who he now finds himself alongside in the battle for third and fourth. But if you're Chris Jenkins, you want to get Austin Derbyshire clear now, because that means you have a shot at the front of the line. Instead, if he sits back here till we get to the checkered flag, there's nowhere he can go. The best he's going to be able to do is try and pull a move to the outside and grab second or maybe third. But he's given up on Austin Derbyshire there. They weren't making enough forward progress for his liking. He pulls to the inside. Now we see Chris Noble potentially making a look to the outside. He's given a bit of a gap to Alan Dobbs. Doesn't make the move happen right yet, but he is looking like he might want to make that move happen sooner rather than later before they get to that last lap.
Yeah, if Noble goes to the outside, and Jenkins is going to have to go with him, because if he gets around him, we know Noble probably wouldn't help him out because let him out in the dry. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. 2 to go here at the Daytona International Speedway. Just single files that go down the back straightaway.
Yeah, there is. I just heard Alan Dobbs on the in-game voice chat letting the lap cars ahead of him know that the leaders are coming. They're surely well aware that they are nearing the conclusion of this race. Nobody willing to make a move yet as they round turn 4 and head towards the tri-oval to get the white flag. It is still Dobbs leading Noble with Jenkins and Derbyshire in tow. Can the 2 behind do anything, or is it going to be all about when Chris Noble makes his move? you'd have to believe Austin Derbyshire would be a bit hesitant to go with Chris Jenkins, given how he abandoned him earlier in this this closing segment of the race. But at this point, you're going to take what you can get, and if that means following Jenkins into third place, that might be it. But Jenkins is right up on the bumper of the 53 truck. He is not letting him get away with that 22, and Derbyshire is really losing touch here. So Dobbs drifts just high to try and protect that outside line. At this point, I have to believe it's going to be down to the 53 or the 22. They head out of turn 4 for the final time, and Dobbs has the advantage of some lap traffic to tow him around. Noble jumps to the outside. Jenkins stays in line. He's trying to get second. It's going to be Dobbs for the win. Who grabs second place? I believe that was Chris Noble in second, but it was very, very close.
Yeah, what a great run for Dobbs to maintain that. Here's another good battle with Smith, Gifford, and fireworks going off.
Yeah, the battle for 5th place. So a top 5 still up for grabs. By the way, that margin between Chris Noble and Chris Jenkins was 6/1000ths of a second. Chris Noble ahead of Jenkins.
And Jenkins ran the fastest lap of the session that last time. Wasn't quite fast enough.
There goes Dustin Smith to the outside of John Gifford, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Gifford seems to have the momentum here, and indeed he will claim 5th place. Dustin Smith settles for 6th, and Chuck Waldrop came across the line a lap down in 7th. So that is the end of this race. As Alan Dobbs parks it on the tri-oval, I think we're going to get to see some burnouts here. Indeed, we are. Well done to the driver of that 22 truck. I said I wanted to be the car in second, and as I often am, I was wrong. Alan Dobbs clearly knew exactly what he was doing, holding on to the lead of the race to secure the victory. There are your final results. Alan Dobbs, your race winner. Half a tenth behind was Chris Noble, and also half a tenth behind was Chris Jenkins in 3rd place for SimCave Racing. Austin Derbyshire brought it home in 4th. John Gifford, we saw in the battle with Dustin Smith, claimed 5th place. Chuck Waldrop, the first car 1 lap down in 7th place. Dylan Canova, one of the cars damaged in the wreck, finished in 8th. Aaron Tyner came home in 9th. Bill Dolph rounded out your top 10. Sean Garreau brings it home in 11th, 2 laps down. James Doan was 6 laps down in 12th. Josh Gordon finished in 13th place, 7 laps down. Richard Clement Sr. In 14th, 10 laps down. Hilton Young, who had some connection issues, unfortunately, comes home 15th place, 12 laps off of the lead. Greg Newsom finishes in 16th, ahead of John Binder and Ernie Ludwig. And we're getting into all the drivers involved in the big one at this point. Jordan Watson comes home 21st. Matt Knight, 22nd. Matthew Dyer, 23rd. Kevin Raw in 24th. And Josh Mayo in 25th. So that is your field. Quite the race, Avery. We saw some really excellent battling, and unfortunate that the big one took out so many cars. But I mean, really, when you consider the fact that was pretty much the only major incident of the day, a phenomenal show put on by these drivers.
Oh yeah, phenomenal show put on these drivers. The one guy put on a real phenomenal show was Alan Dobbs, and I believe Tyler, you're caught up with.
Alan Dobbs, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations, Alan, on a phenomenal performance out there today. I have to admit, I was saying as the race was winding down that I wanted to be the driver in 2nd place, but clearly there's a reason you're out there racing and I'm up here commentating. It's because you knew what you were doing. Did you think you had it locked up riding in 1st there?
No, I tell you what, I said to my team owner, I was like, I really wish I was in 2nd with about 8 laps to go. But he's a sister teammate there behind me, and he said that he'd stick with me and push me to the end, and I think we ended up 1-2. So, great finish for our teams, great race. We had a really fast truck tonight. Thanks to FSM Customs for that. Yeah, awesome. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, it was certainly a fantastic race, and we saw you make some really excellent moves on the start to get up to the lead, and you pretty much stayed there the whole time. Was it your strategy going into it to kind of stay up front and hope you were out ahead of all of the wrecks, or was that just circumstance that led to you being clear of all the carnage?
It's always circumstance that lets you finish one of these races without getting wrecked. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have the best qualifying lap, but we had a great restart on the opening start there. So, we decided, if we can stay in front of the wrecks, stay up here for stage points, we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. And worked out. I think we got a second place stage, a first place stage, and then won the race. So can't really ask for much better than that.
Yeah, I'll say that is quite the points haul for you there, and looking forward to the rest of the season. How do you feel about your championship chances here in the MSRA Truck Series?
I feel really great about them, to be honest. I know that there's a lot of competition here, a lot of really good drivers, but I also know that I got a really great team behind me with Ramsey Cole Racing, and we get some help with the setups from FSM Customs. So I know that us working together, we're going to have fun.
Again, Alan, do you have anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go here?
Yeah, just want to thank the race sponsors, of course, Major's Garage Setup Shop, and of course the veterans of Foreign Wars. I want to thank Ty Cole, my team leader. He signed me to the ride, so I appreciate him giving me that opportunity. Thanks to my teammate, the guys at FSM Customs for working with us. And thanks to Jacob Shorba and all the other guys here that raced tonight. Great race, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Alan. Thank you so much. Alan Dobbs, your winner of the Majors Garage 250 at Daytona.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
And we've got one more driver for you all to hear from. Avery is going to have a chat with Chris Jenkins, your third place finisher.
Hey Chris, congratulations on a third place run, bringing that Marshall University truck to third place. Couldn't quite get the win, but podium finish is always good. What were you trying to do in that last lap to get the W?
I pretty much had it nailed down that the W wasn't happening today. I didn't have much help. My help had some trouble in the pits there, and just couldn't make anything happen there. I tried to push the, I believe the fourth place car for a little bit, and we're not getting anywhere whatsoever. So I decided to get a second or third there, and it was better than fourth. So I'm happy with the finish.
Yeah, you definitely put on a great effort from the start to the beginning. You worked your way to the back of the field right when the big one happened, so that strategy worked for you. I got a question actually from a good friend of mine, a Marshall University alum. He was asking if you played the snare drum.
Sure do.
Okay. I'll have to send that message back to him, but man, this series is phenomenal. But you got a season coming up to. What are the big goals for the rest of the season?
Actually, the National Series tomorrow. That's actually a charter team there. I'm part of SimCave Racing. I'm actually just a non-contract driver in this series, but I'm looking forward to subbing some races and racing whenever I can in this series. But definitely want to thank Majors Garage and the VFW for making this race happen, and definitely appreciate it, and it's a great time.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to see you tomorrow night live here on Apex Racing TV, Chris. Good luck to you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we get a little bit better finish than tomorrow.
Yeah, best of luck, man. We'll be tuning in for sure. That's Chris Jenkins, finishing third. What a fun race, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, really, really excellent race. There's just something about Speed Weeks where it doesn't matter what you're watching, whether it's on real or virtual Daytona. It's always a blast, and it's always just a great experience to get to watch some super speedway racing during Speed Week. So thanks for joining me tonight, Avery. Unfortunately, we don't get to have you in the booth tomorrow, but thanks as well to Marco for doing the production, and I'm looking forward to getting to call the race tomorrow with him, the Colton Creel 300 for you all for the MSRA National Series. Should be an excellent one. We know Chris Jenkins is going to be there. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at the same time, 6:20 Mountain Time, which I'm sure nobody else is in. 8:20 Eastern Time on Apex Racing TV. Wherever you may be, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to the sponsors for the series for putting this on. And we will see you next time.